Forms and functions of religion. Introduction. In this study session, we will discuss the variety of religious forms, which is reduced to a more manageable list consisting of 5 major types: simple supernaturalism, animism, theism, abstract ideas, and civil religion. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Describe the forms of religion, 2. Explain the basic functions of religion. Forms of religion. Religions can be categorized in different ways according to the specific characteristics of faith and how religious groups are organized. Coburn, 1997, and Anderson and Taylor, 2004, therefore identified 5 major forms of religions. They are discussed below. 1. Simple supernaturalism. This is a form of religion in which there is no discontinuity between the world of sense experience and the world of the supernatural. According to this thinking, all natural phenomena are part of a single force. For instance, in less complex and rather isolated societies, like those from South Pacific Island cultures and Eskimo tribes, people may believe in a great force or spirit, but they may not have a well-defined concept of God or a set or rituals involving God. That is, they believe strongly in the power of a supernatural force, but do not attempt to embody that force in a visualized conception of God. 2. Animism. This is a form of religion in which all forms of life and all aspects of earth are inhabited by gods or supernatural powers. This form of religion is most common among hunting and gathering societies. It is also common in Native American cultures and some African tribal cultures. Traces of animism can also be seen in the religious beliefs of the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans. 3. Theism. This is a form of religion in which gods are conceived of as separate from humans and from other living things on the earth, although the gods are in some way responsible for the creation of humans and for their fate. Theism is subdivided into 2: polytheism and monotheism. Polytheism. This is a form of theism in which there are numerous gods, all of whom occupy themselves with some of the universal and human life. Many ancient religions were polytheism, as evidenced in the pantheon of gods of the ancient Greeks and Romans. A similar polytheistic religion could be found among the gods of the Celtic tribes of Gaul and Britain. Monotheism. This is a form of theism that is centered on a belief in a single, all-powerful God who determines human fate and destiny and can be addressed through prayers. The ancient Hebrew was among the first of the world's people to evolve monotheistic religion. This belief is expressed in the central creed of the Jews. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord of one. Christianity and Islam are also monotheistic religions. For instance, the Roman Catholic version God as embodied in a holy trinity consisting of God, which has the ability to inspire the human spirit, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the same vein, the fundamental beliefs of Islam centers on the worship of one God, Allah, according to Muhammad, and the great prophet of the Muslim faith. The fundamental aim of Islam is to serve God as He demands to be served in the Quran. 4. Abstract ideals. This is a form of religion that centers on an abstract ideal of spiritual and human behavior. This is common among the Chinese, Japanese, and other societies of the Far East and can be categorized into two: Buddhism and Confucianism. The central belief of Buddhism, perhaps the more important of this religion, is embedded in the thoughts of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. Life is journey, death is a return to the earth, the universe is like an inn, the passing years are like dust. Like all the people of the world's great religions, Buddhism has many branches. The ideal that unifies them all, however, is the teaching that worship is not a matter of prayer to God, but a quest for the experience of godliness within oneself through meditation and awareness. Confucianism is another religion based on abstract ideals, which are derived from the teachings of the philosopher Confucius, 551 to 479 BC. The central belief of Confucianism is that one must learn and practice the wisdom of the ancient. That is, he that is really good, Confucius' thirds, can never be unhappy. He that is really wise can never be perplexed. He that is really brave can never be afraid. In Confucianism, the central goal of the individual is to become a good ruler or a good and loyal follower. And this is to carry out the Tao of his or her position. Tao is an untranslatable word that refers to the practice of virtues that makes a person excellent at ease or at discipline. 5. Civil religion. This is a collection of beliefs and rituals for communicating those beliefs that exist outside religious institutions. For instance, in the former Soviet Communist Society, civil religions were attached to the institutions of the state. Regarding this, Marxist-Leninism can be thought of a civil religion symbolized by the reference once paid to learning stump. Central to communism as a civil religion is the idea that private property is evil, while property held in common by all members of the society is good. The struggle against private property results in the creation of Soviet personality, which values all human lives and devalues excessive emphasis on individual success, especially success measured by the accumulation of property. Functions of religion. Since religion is a central universal, it is not surprising that it fulfills several basic functions within human societies. Scar-Effer and Lama, 1997, therefore identified some functions of religion. These functions are examined below. 1. Integrative function of religion. Religion, whether it is Buddhism, Christianity, or Judaism, offers people meaning and purpose for their lives. It gives them certain ultimate values and ends to hold in common. Although subjective and not always fully accepted, these values and ends help a society to function as an integrated social system. For example, the Christian ritual of communion not only celebrates a historical event in the life of Jesus, the Last Supper, but also represents collective participation in a ceremony with scarce societal significance. Similarly, funerals, weddings, and confirmation serve to integrate people into larger communities by providing shared beliefs and values about the ultimate questions of life. Although the integrative impact of religion has been emphasized here, it should be noted that religion is not the dominant force maintaining social cohesion in contemporary industrial societies. People are also bound together by partners of consumption, laws, nationalistic feelings, and other forces. Moreover, in some instances, religious loyalties are dysfunctional. They contribute to tension and even conflict between groups or nations. In modern times, for example, nations such as Lebanon Muslim versus Christians, Northern Ireland, Roman Catholics versus Protestants, and Indiana, Indus versus Muslims have been turned by clashes that are in part based on religion. 2. Social control function of religion. Karl Marx acknowledged that religion plays an important role in legitimating the existing social structure. The values of religion reinforce other social institutions and thus strengthen social order as a whole. From Marx's perspective, religion promotes stability within society and therefore helps to perpetuate patterns of social inequality. To him, in a society with several religious faiths, the dominant religion will represent the ruling economic and political class. Marx agreed with Durkheim's emphasis on collective and socially shared nature of religious behavior. At the same time, he was concerned that religion would reinforce social control within an oppressive society. Marx argued that religious focus on otherworldly concern diverted attention from earthly problems and from needless suffering created by unequal distribution of valued resources. Marx and later conflict theorists stated that religion is not necessarily a beneficial of admirable force for social control. For example, contemporary Christianity, like the Hindu faith, reinforces traditional patterns of behavior that call for the subordination of the powerless. Therefore, conflict theorists argue that since religion actually does influence social behavior, it reinforces existing patterns of dominance and inequality. 3. Social support function of religion. Most of us find it difficult to accept the stressful events of life, such as death of a loved one, serious injury, bankruptcy, divorce, and so forth. This is especially true when something senseless happens. Through its emphasis on the divine and the supernatural, religion allows us to do something about the calamities we face. In some faith, adherents can offer sacrifices or pray to a deity in the belief that such act will change their unwelcome earthly conditions. At a more basic level, religion encourages us to view our personal misfortunes as relatively unimportant in the broader perspective of human history, or even as part of an undisclosed divine purpose. Friends and relatives of a beloved one who died may see this death as being God's will and as having some ultimate benefit that they cannot understand. This perspective may be much more comforting than the terrifying feeling that any of us can die senselessly at any time. Moreover, religion offers consolation to oppressed people by giving them a hope that they can achieve salvation and eternal helpness in an afterlife. Similarly, during the times of national tragedy, assassinations, invasions, and natural disasters, people attend religious services as a means of coping with the problems that demand political and technological as well as spiritual solutions. On a more micro level, the clergy are often the first source of aid sought by people faced with a crisis. This apply shows that religion provides spiritual succor to the people in one form of distress or another. Social change function of religion. Max Weber, 1958A, original edition, 1904, clearly examined the connection between religious alliance and the development of capitalism. His findings appeared in his Pioneering of Capitalism first published in 1904. Weber noted that European nations with both Protestant and Catholic citizens have an overwhelming number of business leaders, owners of capital, and skilled workers. Weber pointed out that the followers of John Calvin, 1509 to 1564, a leader of the Protestant Reformation, believed that God had preordained that some people would live their afterlife in heaven, some in hell, and it was impossible to know in which group one was. To alleviate their anxiety, they searched for signs of favor from God. One of those signs of divine blessing was prosperity. Thus, there was a drive towards a disciplined work ethic, which should lead to accumulation of wealth that could be reinvested to increase that prosperity. Thus, the wealth was not to be used frivolously for selfish indulgence, and it was also to be shared with those who had less, because poverty was a sign of God's displeasure of those in that condition. This rational orientation to life has become known as the Protestant ethics, and it fits very well into a capitalist mode of thinking, that is, work hard, accumulate profit, be thrifty, and don't waste. This spirit of capitalism, to use Weber's phrase, contrasted with the moderate work hours, leisurely work habits, and lack of ambition that he saw as typical of the times. The primary disagreement between Max Weber and Karl Marx was not the origins of capitalism, but its future. Unlike Marx, Weber believed capitalism could endure indefinitely as an economic system. He added, however, that the decline of religion as an overriding force in society opened the way for workers to express their discontent more vocally. Study session summary. In this study session, we discuss the forms and functions of religion, which include simple supernaturalism, animism, theism, which is divided into two, polyism, and monotheism, abstract ideas, and civil religion. The characteristics of this form of religions were discussed with various examples given. That ends study session 4. Thanks for listening.